You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. Harry's polluted mind. The primary source is the most important person for the narcissist. This is the individual that is not only deemed the easiest to control, but also comes with a lot of fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. There may be other people who are easier to control than the primary source, but their fuel provision, character traits, and residual benefits are not as good. Therefore, they never become the primary source. In other instances, there may be individuals who provide huge amounts of excellent fuel, have copious amounts of character traits and residual benefits, but they are very difficult to control, and again, they do not make it to become the primary source. They adopt an alternative position within the fuel matrix. Harry is the intimate partner primary source in Harry's wife's fuel matrix. One of the ways that she has controlled him is, of course, the provision of lashings of spicy poontang, something that Harry confirmed himself when he said, "But she's so hot," when his friends protested about her errant behaviour, and she lets you do anything. Sex is a major weapon of seduction, and I've written about that in my excellent book, Sex and the Narcissist. And if you haven't read that so far, what are you waiting for? It really is a draw-dropper. However, there are lots of different ways that a narcissist can control the victim, and another one that Harry's wife has used with regard to Harry to keep him under control so that she can draw on that potent and copious amounts of fuel, utilize his character traits, and, of course, access those residual benefits, is to pollute his mind. Some narcissists present with the golden period, and then thereafter devalue the individual. Harry, of course, has had a similar trajectory. But interwoven with all of that, the way that Harry's wife has controlled him is to tell him that he has been a victim of poor behaviour from his own family, that he has been a victim of poor behaviour from the media. Whilst he has always had some issue with the media, he kind of got on with it in a knocking along together way. But as we have seen in Spare, as a consequence of the intervention of his wife and the court case that has originated, he has become emboldened. He has become a warrior seeking to change journalism. This isn't the type of thing that Harry would ever have come out with. Indeed, it isn't the type of thing that would even enter his head. Somebody else has caused that to happen. Who is it who has the grandiosity of believing that she is a global titan, that is here to empower young women, that is here to meet head-on the injustices in the world, whilst only offering an hour a week to the very foundation that claims to do that? Of course, Harry's wife. She has polluted his mind to make him believe that he is a victim. She has exacerbated the seeds of that belief, exaggerated, nurtured them. She has also pulled him away from his support network so that he has become entirely reliant upon her, and thus believing her narrative, believing what she feeds him. She has whispered and instructed and injuncted all various views that cause Harry to look upon those things that he once held dear with suspicion. Those things that he had suspicion for, he now views with hatred and complete distrust. His mind, particularly malleable in the hands of a narcissist as a consequence of his low cognitive function and his emotional thinking, has been polluted to such an extent that he can no longer see clearly. And the court case recently exemplifies the way that a narcissist can pollute the mind of a victim to brainwash them. Spiked, with an article by Mick Hume, reads, Prince Harry, deluded and dangerous. When Prince Harry entered the witness box in London's High Court this week, he should really have sworn to tell my truth, my whole truth, and nothing but my truth. That observation of itself, of course, is indicative of the way that Harry's wife thinks through her narcissistic lens. She has her truth, and she has infected Harry's mind to the extent of causing him to believe that he has his truth. After all, in his memoir Spare, Harry memorably insisted that there's just as much truth in what I remember and how I remember it as there is in so-called objective facts. No, there isn't. But those are the words that would have been spoken by a narcissist to him and that he has mimicked. His testimony in court captured that princely disdain for anything as vulgar as so-called facts. Indeed, a clear reading of what he has offered is evidence of his feelings and his beliefs rather than any actual proof. The article continues by explaining that Harry is suing Mirror Group newspapers, MGN, for breaching his privacy. He claims that between 1996 and 2011, the Mirror titles published some 140 articles about him based on information obtained using illegal means, primarily phone hacking. Yet, as MGN's barrister Andrew Green KC observed in his opening statement, there's no evidence to support a finding that any mobile phone owned or used by the Duke of Sussex was hacked. Zilch, zero, nil, de nada, niente, nothing. As Spiked editor Tom Slater noted, the prince's evidence proved that he was right about one thing. As Harry says, he really is paranoid about the press, which he blames for everything he doesn't like. See parts passim for an expansion on Harry's paranoia. Under cross-examination, the prince repeatedly had to admit that information he claimed had been gathered illegally actually came from official palace statements, previous media reports, and even interviews with him or his mother, Princess Diana. None of that made the slightest difference to his willful belief that he must have been hacked throughout his life. And who is it has been telling him this? His handler. It is clear that his stance with regard to the media and the bringing of this court case has been actioned and encouraged by his wife, who then stands back to see whether he succeeds or fails. It could have been happening on a daily basis. I simply don't know, Harry declared as if his ignorance was evidence. But did he know a scrap of actual factual evidence to support his claims? No, said Prince Harry. That's part of the reason I'm here, my lord. Which sounds like a novel basis on which to launch a multi-million-pound court case. Sue first, look for evidence later. Of course, that's also commensurate with the mindset of the narcissist, in terms of make the allegation irrespective of there being any actual proof to support it, something that he's clearly learned from his wife. We were left with the ridiculous spectacle of an overgrown adolescent having a long tantrum, accusing tabloid newspapers of inciting hatred, harassment, violence, and suicide, and demanding how much more blood will stain their typing fingers before someone can put a stop to this madness. Prince Harry clearly sees himself not only as the someone to end the madness of the free press, having previously declared it is his life's mission to transform the UK media, but also as the royal superhero who can save British democracy, saying in his witness statement, "Our country is judged globally by the state of our press and our government, both of which I believe are at rock bottom." It might even be funny if it weren't so serious. But this is no laughing matter. Rumours suggest that Harry and his wife, Harry's wife, have fallen out of favour with California's celebrity elite. Yet as the would-be slayer of tabloid dragons, Prince Harry remains a poster boy for a powerful elitist lobby that fears and loathes the popular media and the populace who consume it. Harry rather gave the game away when he was asked if he thought there was a public interest in the press reporting his use of illegal drugs as a teenager when he was third in line to the throne. "Certainly not," replied the prince. "There's a difference between public interest and what interests the public." This is the line repeatedly trotted out by the tabloid-hating elites. They insist that they believe in public interest journalism, just so long as the public interest is not decided by the common public. Instead, what is the public interest should be defined by the likes of High Court judges and high-minded middle-class media types, such as The Guardian and BBC journalists, who admitted during the 2012 Leveson inquiry that they had also hacked phones and used private detectives to target people, but only in the public interest, my lord. Harry's court case is inevitably supported by Hacked Off, the campaign for state-backed press regulation that has been fronted by celebrities from Hugh Grant to John Cleese. For Hacked Off and its supporters, Harry's courage in taking on the tabloids must be backed by government legislation to bring the press to heel. They complain that the Tories have failed to enforce the system of press regulation recommended by Lord Justice Leveson. A future Labour government may well be more willing to listen. Nor should we imagine that any lack of evidence in Harry's case will dim the elite's ardour. Their crusade against the dirt-digging tabloid press has always been fuelled more by visceral hatred than hard facts. Yet, of course, tabloid phone hacking did happen in the past and nobody's tried to defend it. But the phone hacking scandal that erupted in 2011 and led to the Leveson inquiry into the press was fuelled by all manner of allegations, as mad as anything Harry claimed this week. The worst allegation of all was The Guardian's claim that News of the World journalists had not only hacked into the phone of missing schoolgirl Millie Dowler, but crucially had also deleted some of her messages, giving the murdered teenager's parents false hope that she was still alive. That scandalous story led directly to Rupert Murdoch closing the News of the World, Britain's most popular newspaper, and Tory Prime Minister David Cameron setting up the Leveson inquiry. Yet, we soon learned that it was not true. But no matter, the tabloid haters never let the facts get in the way of a good story. They turned phone hacking, real and imagined, into the pretext for Leveson's far wider probe into the entire culture, practice and ethics of the UK media, which ended with the demand for state-backed regulation of the press. More than a decade later, Harry's privacy case shows they are still using tired allegations of historical phone hacking to demand less press freedom. In effect, Harry's position seems to be that not only has he been a stooge for this action, but he is being encouraged to behave in this way because his wife has fueled his hatred of the media, exacerbating the paranoia. Evidence or no, it's become commonplace too, like the paranoid prince, to try and blame the tabloid press for everything, from racism to climate change. Even while Harry was giving evidence this week, Just Stop Oil, which might be seen as the provisional wing of the Green establishment, issued a wild statement accusing the fossil fuel criminal elite and its tabloid media of causing genocide. That sort of, to use Harry Word's madness, will not be stopped by any apparent holes in the prince's case. The privacy laws at the centre of Harry's case are now in the front line of the war on press freedom. No such laws has ever been passed by the UK Parliament. Yet Britain's top judges, using the 1998 Human Rights Act introduced by Tony Blair's new Labour government, have effectively imposed an ever-expanding regime of privacy rules. These judge-made laws have become the favourite weapon of the rich and powerful, seeking to kill news stories that they don't want us to read or hear. Like Prince Too Much Information Harry, they seek not privacy, but control. And this once again comes back to the issue of that which drives the narcissist, control. And Harry is being puppeteered by his wife to get that control, to use him to embark on a campaign, for instance, to get Piers Morgan's head on a plate, as I mentioned in parts past him, but also for the purposes of making her look good as a consequence of reminding everybody of how badly she has been treated. But of course, the events that appertain to Harry's court case are set way before he met Harry's wife. In fact, it matters not to her that there is no connection between what the case is about and her. She sees it as a means by which he can assert control on her behalf. Harry's mind has been polluted so that he sees intrusion by the press around every corner. Harry's mind has been polluted to exacerbate his paranoia. Harry's mind has been polluted so that he doesn't trust anybody other than the very person that he ought not to trust, his wife. She, like many narcissists before her and many narcissists after her, have polluted the mind of the primary victim to ensure that they see all of the other individuals as the enemy, whilst clinging tighter to the enemy number one, the narcissist that has her tendrils firmly wrapped around him. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.